My name is Jason Hornor. I would call myself an entrepreneur. It's been more like an accident in the making, I think. I've been a bit of an idea guy all my life. I've always had these crazy ideas. Always ideas come to me, and I like to tinker with things, and I like to try things out. And over the years, I've just kind of, as 3D printing came about, it kind of came the perfect avenue for me to try them out, to try printing something, to see if my ideas, what they're like in actual life, and watch how bad of an idea they actually were. I have no engineering background. I have no 3D modeling background, no manufacturing background, and prior to what my little side hustles, no business background really. So everything I've done is something that I think anybody else can do just as easily as I could. I'm just basically a normal guy, normal dad who comes up with fun ideas and likes to try them out.
That's awesome. This is perfect because what Be a Maker Club about is helping people take everyday ideas that they have and be able to turn them into things that can solve problems for them.
I started with a need. I call it my blowout moment. It's kind of like this, not even an aha moment, but more like a moment of frustration. Where you're like, there's got to be something, like I need something to do this.
Yeah.
Something is missing here would make my life a lot easier, whatever that would be. Um, and that's where I kind of had an idea. I mean, in my case, this moment was a moment of frustration where afterward I was, fuming about why isn't this better, why isn't this a little easier to do. So I went out and started researching it and looking it up and saying, we need something, or I need something to do this for me. Eventually I started concepting out my idea because I figured, after all the kooky ideas I've had over the years, this one actually wasn't taken. And even though in my case this was way outside of my realm of software developer, it was an idea that wasn't out there. So I just kind of said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what it takes. So that's when I began concepting out my idea, prototyping it. And then the next couple years was just attempt after attempt, redesign, fail, redesign, repeat, until finally I had something that I was happy with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's actually really great to hear. One of the things we try and actually talk about in our lessons is we try to divide them up like idea, design, um, and then make. And I always like to say that like when you do the idea, it doesn't have to be like a well laid out sketch. Like you don't need to be like a draftsman. You're not professional. Even like literally the sketching on a napkin, but having that put down somewhere, I think is really important. And the second piece is that just because you go through the process once, that doesn't mean you've solved the problem or you found the solution that you're actually starting out with, right? And when you said like going back and forth, I think that's very important. But how many times do you think you actually went back and forth before you were,
Man,
say, happy with, like, I know you had the idea, but what do you have any sense of how many times you went back and forth before you're even happy with just the design? Or
I probably went through, I don't know, 2 or 3 dozen prototypes or
wow,
changes or
that's
enhancements.
perseverance.
It's
Wow.
because I knew the idea was there. It's just
Uh-huh.
I was failing in the execution
Right.
over and over again. Just a little off. And as I get closer, I would realize, oop, this is a weak point. This is a pain point. This is going to break. Um, so yeah, it took quite a few tries. So let me go through. Let's see. Oh yeah. So I thought I'd throw in here, where does 3D printing come in all of this?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Of course.
in,
Yeah.
in all in this whole process, I had 3D printing kind of entered in a little bit later in it. For me, it came in when I was kind of concepting it out and prototyping it. Um, for me, 3D printing came in this rapid prototyping. It helped me validate my design much better, find my mistakes much quicker, and I could literally, by the time my print came off a few hours later, I was sitting there playing with it, trying it out, and realizing, oh yeah, this is not quite right. Let me go literally in the software, redesign it, and click print again, and before I go to bed. I mean,
Right.
I could literally pump out iterations much more quickly that way. So for me, this 3D printing just kind of it's a godsend when it comes to prototyping in general. I mean, I can't even imagine doing it without it. So, in my idea was to have a baby changing table. In this case, I wish I had one that was small enough I could take it with me. It had to be, I had like my own little parameters I came up with. It had to be small enough and portable enough to take it with me wherever I went. And that's where I didn't find anything on the market at all. So this is the final product. You can see it's nice and small. It fit my parameters of being small and portable. You can see it's, let me back it up a little bit here. So in this case, it actually folds out. You can see there's a couple compound hinges here.
Yeah.
It folds out and locks into place, and it's a solid, rigid frame table. And in this case, you belt it on like so. There we go. Belt it on, and there we are. See if I can get a little taller here.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, so
that
that's been weight tested to hold over 100 pounds.
Oh wow.
Based off this current design. And your back would never hold that. I hope. I mean, I would never really want to try it, but the design, after a few iterations, actually was strong enough to hold. And I can show you in some of the weight testing pictures I had where they were actually testing that. So this was the final product. And in my case, I can show you the more specific parts where I had to prototype were right there. These hinges.
Oh wow. Okay.
These complex hinges. In this case, they lock place. There's a little spring-loaded button inside that when you push it, you can push both of them here. They bend to 180 degrees. And then these corner hinges, they actually lock at 90 degrees instead of 180 degrees. Right. And they can fold back down. And the design I came up with, because I didn't want to spend any more money, I wanted to have one hinge that could handle both scenarios, the 180 degree scenario and the 90 degree scenario.
Oh, okay.
So the internals of the hinge can be reconfigured in such a way that when you're assembling the hinge, you can put a small cog in one place, and then an internal will actually hit it and lock it at 90 degrees. And then when you put a rivet through it, it's now essentially assembled, and it won't go past 90 degrees. Whereas the 180 degree hinge, you put in a spring, a button, another side of the button, and then you rivet it together, and then it will actually get to the 180 degrees, and the spring will pop out the button and lock it into place. All that though with the same hinge, with the same design, so that when I did get it made, and in my case had it injection molding made, I didn't have to pay for two because all that stuff was just so expensive. So that was where the 3D printing.
That's essentially like that's your key innovation in this, right?
Yes, it is. It really is. It's the function and the way it folds. And I can show you back. Let me throw back on my screen here. This was some of my iterations of hinges. So if you might recognize some of these shapes here, these are, I looked at a GoPro mount and was kind of just decided, if I had a pin through the middle of this, I could actually make this rotating motion or make this folding motion. And this was more from my initial tries with the wooden hinges. I literally, I got some wooden hinges and I cut some of them at 90 degrees so that when they would come down and stop. And I cut some at 45 so that they could fold to a point where they were actually at an L.
Right.
So that's what was kind of modeled. And I realized very quickly that when you get a baby on there, those are dangerous pinch points. So I decided to retry this as a circular hinge. Okay. So this was some of my hinges. You can see the inside of these a little bit. When I was talking about how there's like a male side and a female side. This side will rotate through the groove and actually hit this point here and stop and allow it to stop rotating. So I modeled this on 1/2 inch outside diameter tubing because that's literally just what I bought at my local hardware store. So even now, that's what I use because that's what all my models are out of. So this was one of the results of those prints. And one of those, you put it together, I'm all excited to see how it works. For the first time, I see that it actually folds, and this is pretty neat. It might actually work. And they were so flimsy, they probably couldn't have held more than 10 pounds, and they were just bowing and bending. So next step was,
was this first prototypes all out of PLA?
Nope, they were ABS.
Oh wow. Okay.
I believe, because I had those printed by shapeways.com.
Oh, gotcha.
And I think I just chose ABS because I didn't know anything about the plastics, and I've learned quite a bit about them now. But yes, those were ABS. They offered a bit of flexibility, but yeah, they were too flexible, really. Right. So I tried making these larger to make them stronger, and I also added a bit of a gap here so that when the hinges fold, And I followed this through on my final design too. Let's see if I can't pull out some of my fabric and show you. When the hinges fold, they actually sandwich each other a little bit. So I needed a little bit of a gap. They couldn't just close with zero room in here. I actually had to plan that out so that when they fold, it took off a few more inches of the final product. So that's what I was actually going for here, with a little bit of a gap. Again, the same size, roughly the same size hinges.
Yeah.
Again, pretty much total failure because they were way too weak and too flimsy. So then I stepped it up a notch. I like the idea of the round hinges. There were no more pinch points to deal with.
Yeah.
So this is a much more hardy design, and it's much closer to my final product. Again, you can see I actually have two separate, let me think. Yeah, these might be two separate hinges. One for the 80 degree, or I'm sorry, one for the 90 degree rotation and one for the 180. I'd have to
The interesting thing for me in that is that you went from a round pipe holder to this kind of looks like a square one.
Yeah, that's a lot because my 3D modeling skills were not that good. This was done in Tinkercad. Right. If you've ever used Tinkercad.com, I recommend it. It's a great way to throw together shapes, and considering the complexity of what I did here, I think it wasn't half bad.
No, I mean, I know. I mean, we primarily use Tinkercad, and
okay.
It is my go-to tool as well when I just want to get something done very quickly.
Exactly. Yep.
It's so intuitive, So yeah,
it is.
Kudos to AutoCAD for
AutoCAD. Oh yeah, I mean, AutoCAD's a whole different monster, and I knew nothing about it. I mean, this is trying to get through my job, get through family life, and also try to learn 3D modeling. Tinkercad's a great go-to for that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yep. So with that design, I was actually able to do some 3D prints and get a much closer to my final product. I mean, as you can see, I literally just bolting the metal tubes on.
Yeah.
And in this case, I had to learn so much about like rivets and snaps and all sorts of things that I didn't even know what I was looking for. I literally would go to a stroller or a car seat and look at a part and be like, what's that part? I need one of those. I need that little pin that does it. I had no idea what it's called. So there's the final after an injection molding. That's what the final hinge looks like. And like you were saying, kind of going back to some rough designs when you're just trying to get something working. That's basically all I did until the final. At the very end is when I started putting the polishing touches. Like for instance, my little sticker I have on both sides that covers my center pin. And I think I was telling you, all said and done, even if this product never goes anywhere for me, or if this particular business never goes anywhere, I learned so much from this process. I mean, this picture here is actually my mother teaching me how to sew.
Oh wow!
I could sew this fabric. It's just so much inventiveness you have to do just to kind of get by sometimes.
Of course.
Here's my old son just playing through loads and loads of fabric as I've sewn them, I've cut them, I put snaps on them. So that's pretty much my product from start to finish. Is kind of how I went through the process. Like I said, it's not everybody's process. And from coming from no experience to trying this out, it was worth every bit of it, really. I mean, it was all of it was invaluable to my takeaway from what I learned about it all.
It's fantastic to hear your journey, and the fact that you didn't give up, especially by the pattern, because I could see like a lot of people like, oh, there's already a snow pattern, man, we're not going to try it. And it's great to hear that you didn't give up, because finally you did get your patent. So that's a big win. This is awesome. And I mean, any special notes you want to talk about, like because I know we did say that 3D printing assisted, but were there any kind of comments or thoughts or observations you had about how 3D printed things that we might not have covered so far that impacted your process? Other than the fact that obviously it's fast and stuff, but were there any things that stood out to you that you might not have mentioned so far?
Just the printing process. I mean, it's such a delight to actually see it happening. It's hard to describe how fun it is to run out and watch your piece either being made or finally be done.
Right.
And like you said, I mean, watching something go from an idea to a piece of software, or like a picture in software, to an actual tangible item. It's hard to describe just how fascinating that is.